Do you know what really happens when you live alone after 80? Most people imagine quiet afternoons, peace, freedom, and doing whatever you want without answering to anyone. Maybe you picture sipping tea by the window, reading a book, or enjoying a calm, independent life. And yes, some days do feel like that. There can be freedom. There can be calm. But the reality for many seniors is far more complicated and sometimes heartbreaking. Living alone in your 80s often means facing struggles that nobody prepares you for. Struggles that family and friends might not notice from the outside. Behind closed doors, daily life can feel heavier, quieter, and lonelier than anyone imagined. Think about it. At this age, your circle of friends has grown smaller. Some have moved away. Others are no longer here. Family visits become less frequent. Children and grandchildren are busy with their own lives. And suddenly the silence inside your home becomes louder than ever. Simple things that once felt easy, cooking dinner, doing laundry, climbing stairs, now feel like uphill battles. And the most frightening thought? If something happens, if you fall or feel unwell, there may be no one around to notice. Hours can pass, sometimes even days. But here's the thing. These truths are rarely spoken about. Society loves to talk about graceful aging, silver hair, and staying active. Yet the harsher realities of living alone after 80 are often brushed aside, leaving many to silently wrestle with challenges and isolation. In this video, we're going to bring those truths into the light. We'll explore 9 harsh realities of living alone after 80. Some of them may surprise you. Others may feel painfully familiar if you or someone you love is walking this road. But don't worry, this is not just about the struggles. We'll also talk about small but powerful ways to cope, adapt, and find dignity and meaning even in the hardest seasons of life. Because honesty doesn't mean hopelessness. So, if you've ever wondered what life really looks like for seniors living alone in their 80s, stay with me. This conversation could open your eyes, and maybe even change the way you look at aging, independence, and family support forever. Truth number 1. The weight of loneliness. Living alone in your 80s can bring a certain kind of freedom that younger people often envy. You don't have to compromise, you don't have to wait for someone else's schedule, and you can enjoy your space exactly the way you like it. But with that freedom often comes an invisible cost. A deep, heavy loneliness that grows heavier with time. It's not just the absence of noise in the house. It's the absence of being seen, of being needed, of being known. Days can feel long. The mornings stretch into afternoons, afternoons into evenings, and sometimes not a single voice is heard within those walls. Family visits, once a regular comfort, become occasional. Friends, the ones you used to call or visit, may have moved away or passed on. And suddenly, the silence doesn't just fill the room. It fills the heart. Take Harold, age 83. Every evening, he sets his dinner at the same small table by the window. He keeps his routines, he calls his daughter once a week, watches his favorite TV programs, tries to keep himself busy. But some nights, he admits, the silence feels unbearable. He says what he misses most is not even conversation but simply presence. Just the comfort of knowing someone else is nearby. Someone to share a laugh, a worry, or even just the stillness. And here's the sobering truth. Loneliness at this stage of life isn't just emotional, it's physical. It takes a real toll on the body. Research from the JAMA Network shows that chronic loneliness in older adults increases the risk of depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. The World Health Organization warns that social isolation is linked to higher risks of heart disease, stroke, and even premature death. That's right. Loneliness can be as harmful to your health as smoking or obesity. Why? Because human connection is not just a luxury, it's a lifeline. Without someone to check in, to notice changes in mood, or even to remind you to take your medication, small struggles can quietly grow into bigger ones. And here's something people rarely admit. Even when you try to stay busy watching TV, knitting, gardening, reading, There is an ache for deeper connection. A phone call may brighten the day for a while, but it doesn't replace the warmth of someone physically there. Loneliness is one of the hardest truths of living alone after 80, but it doesn't have to be the end of the story. Experts recommend building small rituals of connection, things that may seem small, but can make a world of difference. Call a neighbor even just for a few minutes of chat. Join a community activity, a church group, or a senior center where faces become familiar. Reach out daily, even if it's just sending a message, waving to a passerby, or having a brief conversation at the grocery store. Because connection isn't always about big moments. It's about daily touches that remind you. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You still matter. Loneliness is real. But naming it, facing it honestly, and seeking out small sparks of human contact can lighten that heavy weight and bring meaning back to the quietest of days. Truth number 2. The challenge of daily chores and mobility. When you live alone after 80, it's not the big things that surprise you. It's the small, ordinary tasks. The things you once did without thinking. The things that once took minutes now feel like mountains. Carrying groceries from the car. Dragging the vacuum across the living room. Changing the sheets on the bed. Even something as simple as bending down to pick up laundry or reaching to dust a shelf suddenly demands energy, balance, and focus in ways you never noticed before. Take Irene, age 85. She's always been proud of keeping a spotless home. In her younger years, Saturday mornings meant opening the windows, turning on music, and cleaning from top to bottom. But now, just carrying a basket of laundry down the stairs feels risky. Changing her sheets leaves her winded. Sweeping the kitchen floor can take twice as long as it used to, and it leaves her back aching. The frustration is real. You want to stay independent. You want to keep your home the way you always have. But your body doesn't cooperate the way it once did. And that gap between what you remember being able to do and what you can do today is painful. There's another layer to risk. Every chore carries hidden dangers. Carrying heavy grocery bags strains your shoulders. Bending down too quickly can make you dizzy. Standing on a stool to reach the top shelf could mean a fall. And when you live alone, a simple fall isn't just inconvenient. It can be life-changing. That fear creeps in quietly. Sometimes it shows up as hesitation before you start a task. Sometimes it's the quiet decision to leave the vacuum in the closet a little longer, or to let the dust gather because you're too tired to fight with it today. And sometimes it's embarrassment. Not wanting to admit to children or neighbors that you can't quite keep up the way you used to. But here's what experts say. Struggling with chores is not a failure. It's a signal, a reminder that your body has limits, and that pushing beyond them without support can lead to bigger problems. Physical strain, fatigue, or even a small misstep can undo months of health and independence. The good news? There are ways to make these mountains smaller. Break large tasks into smaller steps. Instead of cleaning the whole kitchen at once, just wipe the counters today and mop the floor tomorrow. Use aids like lightweight vacuum cleaners, rolling laundry baskets, or grabbers to avoid bending. Simplify your home layout so the things you need most are easy to reach. And most importantly, ask for help before a small task becomes a serious hazard. Some communities and senior centers offer help with groceries, meal prep, or light cleaning. Family members often want to help, but don't always realize the struggle until you speak up. And technology, from grocery delivery apps to home care services, can make a huge difference. The truth is this: daily chores may feel heavier than they've ever felt before. But with small changes, the right tools, and a willingness to lean on others, those mountains can become manageable hills. You don't have to climb them alone. Truth number 3. The fear of falling and being helpless. As the years add up, so does the weight of this fear. It begins quietly, as a small hesitation. Stepping into the shower, walking down a hallway at night, reaching for something overhead. All the little movements of daily life now come with a whisper in the back of the mind. What if I fall? For younger people, a stumble is just that, a stumble. You get up, brush yourself off, and move on. But in your 80s, one slip can mean so much more. A fall can bring broken bones, a hospital stay, or weeks, even months of recovery. And when you live alone, the stakes rise even higher. One slip could lead to hours or even days of waiting helplessly for someone to realize you need help. This isn't just a physical risk. It's an emotional one. The fear of falling seeps into daily life. Suddenly, your safe, familiar home feels like a landscape of hidden dangers. The smooth bathroom floor becomes a threat. The stairs you've climbed for decades now look like cliffs. Even something as small as stepping off a curb can feel daunting. Take Ed, 84. He never thought twice about moving around his apartment until one afternoon he tripped in the kitchen. He managed to get up, bruised but shaken. After that day, he noticed himself walking more slowly, gripping the walls and hesitating before every step. Cooking, something he loved, suddenly felt risky because standing at the stove too long made him worry about losing his balance. Even tending to his small balcony garden, once a joy, filled him with dread at the thought of falling where no one could hear him call for help. And Ed's story isn't unusual. According to Columbia doctors, falls are one of the leading causes of injury in older adults, and the risk increases sharply after 80. Another study shows that 1 in 4 seniors experiences a fall each year. And for those living alone, the consequences are magnified. The fear of lying helpless, unable to reach the phone, is something many quietly carry but rarely say out loud. This fear changes behavior too. Seniors may avoid activities they once loved. They may stop walking outside, stop cooking standing up, or avoid going upstairs altogether. The tragedy is that this avoidance leads to less movement, and less movement makes the body weaker, which only increases the risk of falling. It's a cycle of fear that quietly steals independence. But here's the hopeful part. There are ways to break that cycle. Experts recommend making simple but powerful home modifications. Install grab bars in the bathroom. Place non-slip mats in the shower and kitchen. Improve lighting in hallways and staircases. Keep clutter, cords, and rugs out of walkways. Wear shoes with good grip, even indoors. Technology can help too. Personal alert systems, smartwatches, or even voice-activated devices can summon help at the press of a button. And one of the simplest strategies of all? Keep a phone within reach, on a lanyard around your neck, in your pocket, or right next to your bed at night. The truth is this: the fear of falling is real and it grows heavier with age. But fear doesn't have to turn your home into a prison. With thoughtful changes, supportive technology, and the courage to prepare, you can reclaim confidence in your steps and restore your home to a place of safety, not danger. Truth number 4. Health setbacks compound fast. When you live alone at 80 or beyond, what seems like a small issue can quietly grow into a crisis. A mild fever, a dizzy spell, a nagging cough. For many, these are things you'd normally brush off. But without someone nearby to notice the change, to ask, "Are you okay?" or to insist, "Let's call the doctor," these little warning signs can go unseen. That's the danger. Not the illness itself at first, but the silence around it. A forgotten pill here, a skipped meal there. A doctor's appointment rescheduled one too many times because it feels like too much trouble. And slowly, what started as something minor becomes something that lands you in the emergency room. Consider Margaret, 82. She caught what felt like a simple cold. Living alone, she kept telling herself she'd get better with rest. But over the course of a week, her cough deepened, her energy plummeted, and she stopped eating properly. By the time her daughter visited, Margaret was severely dehydrated and struggling to breathe. What began as a small cold had spiraled into pneumonia. A hospital stay, oxygen treatments, and weeks of recovery. Her story is not unusual. According to KFF Health News, Older adults who live alone are far more likely to delay or avoid medical care. Without a partner, child, or close friend regularly checking in, symptoms that should raise alarms often get overlooked. Another study published in the Journal of Gerontology found that seniors living alone were more vulnerable to uncontrolled chronic conditions like high blood pressure or diabetes, simply because there wasn't another person to remind them about medication, help schedule appointments, or spot when something was off. It's not just physical health either. Mental health setbacks compound too. Forgetting a pill may lead to confusion. Confusion may lead to missing meals. Missed meals can lead to weakness, and weakness raises the risk of falls. Each small decline feeds the next, creating a chain reaction that can take away independence far faster than anyone expects. And here's the heartbreaking part. Most of these crises are preventable. What makes the difference is not necessarily a doctor's skill, but simple human connection and consistency. Practical steps can soften the risks. Share health information with someone you trust. A child, a sibling, even a neighbor. Let them know what medications you take and when. Schedule regular check-ins. A daily call, a weekly visit, or even a quick text exchange can be enough for someone else to catch warning signs you might ignore. Use reminders and aids. Pill organizers with alarms, smart speakers that prompt medication times, or calendars marked with appointments can turn forgetfulness into structure. And above all, don't wait. If you feel off even slightly, reach out. The earlier you act, the smaller the setback stays. Because when you live alone, vigilance is your ally. Small problems don't announce themselves loudly. They whisper. But if those whispers go unheard, they can turn into storms. The truth is this. Health setbacks will come. That's a part of aging. But letting them snowball unchecked doesn't have to be. By staying proactive, leaning on small systems of support, and refusing to ignore the little things, you can turn what could be a crisis into just a bump in the road. Truth number 5. Nutrition, meal prep, and the tea and toast syndrome. When you picture aging at home, you may imagine warm home-cooked meals, comforting soups simmering on the stove, or fresh vegetables from the market. But for many who live alone after 80, reality looks very different. Cooking becomes tiring, messy, and sometimes even unsafe. The result? Meals shrink down to the bare minimum. A cup of tea, a piece of toast, a few crackers. Just enough to take the edge off hunger, but nowhere near enough to nourish the body. Experts call this pattern tea and toast syndrome. It describes the diet many older adults slip into when cooking for one feels like too much effort. Why prepare a full meal, with chopping, stirring, and cleaning up, when you're the only one who will sit at the table? Take Arthur, 86. For most of his life, he loved to cook. He was the kind of person who would roast a chicken on Sundays, make a big pot of stew, or bake bread from scratch. But since his wife passed, cooking no longer feels the same. The joy of sharing a meal has gone. Now, most evenings, he pours himself a cup of tea and slices some bread. It fills his stomach, but not his spirit, and certainly not his body's needs. This quiet shift carries serious risks. According to HomeWatch caregivers, seniors living alone are significantly more likely to suffer from undernutrition. A study published in NDPI Nutrients found that older adults who live alone consume fewer calories, less protein, and fewer fruits and vegetables than those living with a partner or family. And the World Health Organization has long warned that malnutrition in seniors is a hidden epidemic, one that increases weakness, worsens recovery times, and raises the risk of falls and hospitalizations. The problem isn't always access to food. Often the fridge is full, but motivation is empty. Sometimes it's physical barriers, arthritis that makes chopping painful, or fatigue that makes standing over a stove unsafe. Other times it's emotional. Why bother cooking a full meal when no one is here to share it? That question, whispered night after night, is what slowly drains the body's strength Malnutrition doesn't always look like empty cupboards. Sometimes it looks like the wrong foods too often. Meals heavy on bread, processed snacks, or sugary drinks. Enough to quiet hunger, but not enough to provide protein, vitamins, or fiber. And over time, this leads to muscle loss, weakened immunity, slower wound healing, and even cognitive decline. But here's the hopeful truth. Eating well alone is possible. It just requires rethinking how meals are prepared and shared. Practical steps can make a difference. Meal delivery services. Many communities offer senior-focused meal programs, like Meals on Wheels, which bring hot, balanced meals right to the doorstep. Batch cooking. Preparing one big pot of soup or stew, then freezing it in small portions, reduces the daily burden of cooking. Simple recipes. Meals don't need to be elaborate to be nutritious. A smoothie with yogurt, fruit, and oats. An omelet with spinach. A bowl of lentil soup. Sharing meals. Eating with others, whether inviting a neighbor once a week, joining a church supper, or attending community lunches, not only improves nutrition, but also restores the joy of eating. Technology aids. Grocery delivery services or pre-chopped vegetables can remove some of the hardest physical steps. Because at the heart of this truth is more than food. It's about dignity. Eating well is not just about calories. It's about keeping the body strong enough to stand, walk, and live independently. It's about maintaining energy for the things you love. And it's about reminding yourself that you are worth the effort of a real meal. The reality is this. Cooking for one may never feel the same as cooking for a family. But choosing nourishment, in whatever form works best, is one of the most powerful ways to protect independence and vitality after 80. A piece of toast and a cup of tea may fill a stomach for a moment. But real food, real nutrients, and real care are what keep life going. We've walked through 9 hard truths about living alone after 80. And yes, they are heavy. Loneliness. Chores that feel overwhelming. The fear of falling. Health setbacks. The quiet erosion of nutrition. These aren't small matters. They are daily realities. But here's something vital to remember. These truths are not inevitabilities. They are challenges. And challenges can be met with preparation, creativity, and above all, connection. You do not have to simply endure life alone in silence. You can shape it, protect it, and still find joy in it. Here's how. 1. Regular check-in routines. Loneliness loses its grip when contact becomes predictable. A short daily phone call. A weekly visit. Even scheduled video chats with children or grandchildren. These aren't just gestures, they are lifelines. They provide both emotional warmth and practical safety, because someone else will notice if something isn't right. 2. A home safety audit. Your home can either be a sanctuary or a hidden obstacle course. Simple modifications make all the difference. Grab bars in the bathroom, non-slip mats near the tub, motion sensor nightlights in hallways, and removing clutter or loose rugs. Think of it as future-proofing your independence. One afternoon of adjustments can prevent months of recovery from a fall. 3. Assistive technology. Technology is no longer just for the young. Personal alert systems, the kind worn around the neck or wrist, allow you to call for help instantly after a fall. Smart sensors can detect movement, track doors, or even remind you to take your medication. Simple voice assistants can help make calls or set reminders without fiddling with small buttons. These aren't signs of weakness. They are tools of empowerment. 4. Nourishment made easy. No one should settle for tea and toast when the body craves protein, vitamins, and energy. Community meal programs like Meals on Wheels can deliver hot food daily. Grocery services can bring fresh produce right to the door. Batch cooking on a good day means you have healthy meals for days when energy is low. Even something as small as a smoothie blender can transform nutrition from a burden into a joy. 5. Community participation. Isolation is the enemy of the spirit. Connection is its cure. Join a club, a church group, a walking circle, or a volunteering program. It doesn't have to be daily. Even 1 or 2 outings a week infuse life with meaning and companionship. The laughter of others, the handshake of a friend, the shared task of gardening or crafting. These are not luxuries, they are medicine. 6. Shared scheduling and family involvement. Families often want to help, but they may not know how unless you invite them in. Share your medical appointments, grocery lists, or even weekly goals with someone close. Use a shared calendar app, or even a paper planner hung on the wall, so others can step in with support. Remember, letting family help isn't burdening them. It's allowing them to love you in action. And above all, hold on to this truth. Seeking help does not mean failure. Does not mean you are weak. Does not mean you have lost independence. Quite the opposite. Accepting support is how you protect independence. It's how you extend it. It's how you turn those hard truths from walls into bridges. Because thriving after 80, even while living alone, isn't about pretending these challenges don't exist. It's about facing them with wisdom, courage, and the right tools. It's about finding connection in small moments, strength in simple routines, and dignity in the knowledge that your life still has value, richness, and joy. Yes, there are harsh truths, but there are also hopeful truths. That you are not alone in your struggles. That solutions exist. That support is closer than you think. And that life, even after 80, can still hold beauty, meaning, and light, if you take the steps to make it so. We've journeyed through 9 hard truths of living alone after 80. They are not easy to face.